Springfield today to talk about the infrastructure initiative that President Biden signed not long ago. A reminder that whether it was the CARES Act, the HEROES Act, or the President's Rescue Package, those were all drafted by the Ways and Means Committee, including the child credit, paid family leave, and then we moved on to infrastructure. We've talked about infrastructure for more than a decade nationally, and Joe Biden got it done. I call attention to that because not only was it our committee that did much of the work on that, but at the same time, you needed a great advocate within the administration, and that's clearly Secretary Walsh. So downstairs we had 6 area mayors that participated in a discussion with the Secretary about their priorities, understanding that much of the success here will come from the initiatives that they propose that will be under the magnifying glass of great analysis, but also to highlight the fact that this is a once-in-a-career opportunity to get infrastructure right. You know of my interest in the lore of history, the Federal Highway Act of 1956, sponsored by a Republican president. Lyndon Johnson was the majority leader in the Senate, and Sam Rayburn was the Speaker of the House. It was transformative. But we also know that a lot of projects have been delayed. All you have to do is travel through many of our highways to understand and see the netting underneath. It catches the falling rubble. We can see what's happened to bottlenecks, and I will be clear with all of you, the Secretary and I discussed with the mayors today our #1 project, and that is improved passenger service on East-West Rail. I've known this guy for a long time. You're not going to get a better person of higher character, good political leader, and his allies are here today from organized labor. They've been great friends to all of us because we're going to ensure that what we've all talked about, they're going to make happen. With that, it's a pleasure for me to welcome to Springfield to a initiative that largely came from the federal government, Union Station, which is an example of what you can do with some patience and perseverance. But an honor for me to introduce the Secretary of Labor, my friend, Secretary Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to stop by. I knew when I was coming to Union Station today that Congressman Neal did a lot of work on it, but he turned a historic station into a modern transportation center, and that's when you look at what he did here at this one station, the ability for working together and what that means for our country. You can't put a I don't know what the right definition with that. I guess I want to thank the chairman for not just having me in his district today, but for being a good friend. He's somebody that I often lean on down in Washington D.C. and having somebody with such status in Congress to be able to get the little things that are important to people done. I want to say thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to thank all the mayors that are here. I want to give a special shout out to Mayor Sano for bringing us to a city today. It's great to be here with you, Mr. Mayor. And all the mayors. There's a whole bunch of mayors around me, so I want to thank all the mayors. I want to thank the AFL-CIO and the building trade leaders that are here as well. I also want to thank, there's lots of planners in the room. We had a great conversation talking about diversity and equity in this bill, making sure that we make investments that are equal across the board. We had a lot of folks from different planning agencies from Western Massachusetts as well, talking about what this bill means for them. So it's great to have a conversation, deliver some good news. Right here, where we're standing, is what infrastructure means: good jobs and strong communities. I'm here today, obviously with the chairman, but also to celebrate President Biden's infrastructure law. Chairman Neal had a lot to do with his fingerprints are all over this bill, and I want to thank him for making sure that this bill got through the United States Senate to the House or to the Congress, and it was a bipartisan bill. I also want to thank him for getting Build Back Better reconciliation bill through the House of Representatives. Another important piece of legislation that's going to change the trajectory for so many families here in America. When I talk to local investment, to get things done in Washington, and he was able to sit down and get both sides to sit at the table and talk about what it means. What this bill means for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts alone: $5.3 billion for highways, roads, and bridges, $2.8 billion for public transportation, $244 million for airports, $63 million to expand electric vehicle charging networks throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, $1.1 billion for clean drinking water in every home and every school in the Commonwealth, $100 million to expand affordable high-speed internet. Our family saw at the beginning of the pandemic, back in March of 2020, kids learning from home. People had to work from home, and we had to get them hotspots. As mayors and as town managers, we had to get them hotspots. And this eliminates that problem moving forward, allowing families the opportunity to connect. Massachusetts will also receive a significant part of the $66 billion new investment in inner city passenger rail. And I know we have some good high plans in this area. I think the congressman mentioned to me 4 or 5 times the west-east link, the east-west link. That's just to be clear. And certainly, as a former mayor of Boston, I understand the importance, because we were talking about West Station and creating a stop there so we can bring people in from Western Mass to work in the city of Boston or live in the city of Boston, and the same people coming out to the western part of the state to go to work in Springfield and live in the city of Boston. So that's why we need this investment in high-speed rail. The bipartisan infrastructure law is also about building a better America, modernizing systems to move our economy, improving our quality of life for public health, prioritizing communities that got left out in the past, and winning the future for the next generation. Above all, it's about investments in putting Americans to work in good jobs, good union jobs, jobs that can't be outsourced, jobs that provide pathways to the middle class, jobs that are accessible to everyone, including, and more importantly, women, people of color, veterans, and people in rural America that don't have access to good jobs right now. And that's why we'll strengthen America's economy and move forward together. At the Department of Labor, I'm focused on making sure these jobs and these investments are created. They do create the good jobs. We're expanding job training and registered apprenticeships in partnership with unions, employers, and states all across the Commonwealth, all across the country. We're focusing on access for women and workers of color and low-wage workers who need better opportunities and better options for their life. We're supporting workers who provide child care, elder care, health care, and everything that families need to be able to make ends meet. And we're making sure every worker has the rights and protections that they deserve. The fact is, this is a historically strong economic recovery. We're in it right now. The President's public health and economic strategy since January of this year has created nearly 6 million jobs. It's an all-time record for a president in his first year of office. The unemployment rate is down to 4.2%, 2 years ahead of expectations. And the bipartisan infrastructure law is the biggest investment in America's competitiveness in a generation. We certainly have more work to do. The Build Back Better Act is essentially the next step. It will lower the cost and cut taxes for working families all across America. It will make historic investments in education, job training, and workforce development. Again, I want to thank Chairman Neal for his leadership in getting Build Back Better through the House of Representatives. That was a historic legislative accomplishment. And we're going to be working hard with the Senate to get it across the finish line so we get it to the President's desk so we can put his name on it. The folks that are here today are inspiration in our work because they know the impacts of these investments. I just want to say a quick word about the mayors. We were talking a minute ago about what this bill means for cities and towns all across the country, and particularly here in Western Mass. As we said, we have projects that we want to do. Those projects are on the shelf because we don't have the money to make the investment to fix a bridge or fix a road or fix a waterway or fix a sewer system. What this money does allows cities and towns behind me and other mayors that couldn't be here today to be able to plan those projects moving forward, to get the investment from the federal government to move their city forward. Not just to make the short-term impacts as far as building a bridge or a road or a waterway or broadband connectivity. It allows them the opportunity also to market their city, to bring new businesses into their city, to build new housing in their city, to create opportunities in their city for their constituents and for the region. So I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here today. Today is a good day. Today is a very good day. Mr. Chairman, thank you for all that you've done. These press conferences that we have are very good when we're talking about spending a lot of money. So I want to thank you for that. And when I say spending money, they're investments. I can't stress enough, these two bills are investments. Investments in our roads and bridges, investments in our kids, investments in our families, investments in America. So with that, thank you, and I'll open up for questions for anybody up here.
Brett?
Well, Secretary, obviously the virus numbers are not going in the right direction in a lot of places. Are you concerned about the impact that might have on the job market in the upcoming months?
Yeah, we'll watch it very closely. The president gave a speech about 8 days ago, and we were saying we want to see what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Certainly we are concerned about it. That's why, I'm encouraging people to get vaccinated. I'm encouraging people to get boosted. I'm encouraging people, if you're refusing to get vaccinated, get tested on a regular basis, wear your mask. I mean, March of 2020, all of us, everyone up here, we had to shut our cities down, and it was probably something that we never imagined to do. We know how to fight the virus back. We know how to push back on the virus now, and I would just recommend that we do that as we continue to move forward.
How soon is the infrastructure money going to get down to these cities so they can get going on these projects that have been on hold?
Great question. I'll jump on it first, and I'll turn it over to the chairman. What we're doing right now in the White House is we're working on a paper to really think about how do we make sure we spend this money right and this money goes out there. I would have to say, we was asked, and we had a meeting inside one of the. I think the laborers asked the question on that. I would say you'll start to see some money in the streets by the middle of this year, but there's still a lot of planning that has to happen. But let me turn over to the chairman.
Sure, I think that the additional issue here that's really important to understand is there are a lot of projects in waiting that are perhaps ready to go, coupled with the fact that this is still going to be an important time to hire engineers. It's going to require a lot of planning that's going to take place. The other thing that's important to remember here, this is not a substitute for other obligations of spending. So clear that this is not to say, for example, that the normal regulatory atmosphere of government is going to be postponed and this is going to become a substitute for that expenditure and investment. That's not going to happen. This is a partnership. So again, there's no reason why we can't get these projects underway. There's a lot of great work that's happened already. And one of the things that I've often thought that was heralded in Massachusetts, it should have been more heralded in Massachusetts than it was what Massachusetts did with school buildings. No matter where I travel across this constituency, this is an example of forward thinking as to what you can do with rehabilitation and new construction. So I think that the Secretary's onto it and ready to go.
I know there's been a lot of focus lately on making our communities safer for pedestrians and cyclists. Is there money set aside in this infrastructure bill to further these goals for our communities?
Yeah, a lot of that's going to be in the planning designs in cities and towns across the country when they think about it. I think that I spent a lot of time when I was the mayor of Boston designing a better infrastructure for bikes, and part of that was laying it out. It's all going to be laid out in the plan. So I would say where it works, we should do that. There's no question about it. I mean, we're trying to create a cleaner economy, a cleaner environment. I said, so there's opportunities here as we build it out. I think a lot of cities are going to be excited about that.
Does inflation change the way you sell these two bills?
No, I don't think. I personally don't feel inflation has anything to do with these two bills. I think they're two very different pieces of. I don't see them connected together. The two bills, the infrastructure law and the bipartisan, the Build Back Better reconciliation package, are investments in economies and people and industries. I don't see how that adds to inflation. I think that the president and Secretary Yellen are working extremely hard right now to deal with the issue of inflation. We've seen the numbers go up in the last week as far as inflation goes, but we've also seen the price of the gas drop. We've seen some other pieces drop. So I think we're going to continue to stay focused on our plan on the economy, and we're going to stay focused on our plan to move these two bills forward.
I mean, nobody has changed. This one observation. Despite some pretty good efforts, even from time to time in Congress, nobody has changed the law of supply and demand, and that's what this is about. Europe is experiencing the same challenge. It's pent-up demand with limited supply at the moment, and I think that's part of the challenge that we have in front of us.
Mr. Secretary, while we have you here, there's been some speculation you may be weighing a gubernatorial run. Is that something you're interested in?
No, there's a lot of speculation about a lot of things, and I'm not speculating on it. I was asked by the president in January of this year, to be his Secretary of Labor. I had a wonderful job, a great job, probably the job of my lifetime. I love being secretary, but I really love being mayor of the city of Boston. And I decided to accept the president's request to be Secretary of Labor. I'm working in an administration that is working to move our country forward. I work for a great guy in President Biden. We're laying out a good plan to move forward, and my job is focused on being the best Secretary of Labor I can be for the working people in America, so we continue to move not just these pieces of legislation forward, but there's lots of other work we want to do. I'm focused on my job.
Everyone at that. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Great job. Great job, Sarah. Nicely done.